There are people who live their whole lives in silence, like a small lamp, quietly lighting up the lives of countless others. They don't say much. They don't leave behind books, scriptures, or empty promises. They leave behind just one thing: themselves. This is the story of such a teacher, an old Zen master who lived in seclusion deep in the forest. No one knew his real name. People simply called him Masterman, the one who lit lamps in the dark. And this was his final rainy season, a season of farewells, of illness, and of a final teaching that echoed through time. Be a light unto yourself. That year, the rainy season came earlier than usual. The first rains fell gently upon the silent forest, weaving through every branch and leaf, each drop tapping softly on the thatched roof of the old hermitage, weathered by time. The sky was a dull gray, mirroring the hearts preparing for a quiet farewell. Not one of fanfare or parting words, but a silence that stretched out, long and deep, like the sound of rain. Masterman, the old Zen monk who had lived in seclusion in this forest for nearly 40 years, sat quietly on the porch. His dark brown robe was damp from a mist rising through the deep woods. His eyes were gently closed, yet within them was the clarity and peace of a man who had weathered every storm of the soul. His students, once seekers who came to him in crisis, shattered and lost, had grown. They had scattered across the land, walking their own paths, some teaching the Dharma, some simply living quiet, mindful lives. And, as tradition dictated, before the rainy season began, each one had chosen a place to settle for the months of retreat. As always, he chose to remain here, alone. No one tried to stop him. No one tried to persuade him otherwise, because they all understood he needed no care, no tearful goodbyes. He belonged to silence, just like the ancient forest, the flowing stream, and the drifting clouds overhead. But this year, something was different. His body had grown heavier. The aches in his back no longer passed quickly. His slow steps were now weighed down by an invisible force. He knew this body was nearing the end of its journey. Still, he felt no fear. Death, to him, was not an end, it was a return. But there was one thing he hadn't yet let go of: his students. Though they were no longer by his side, he still watched over them in silence. Some were strong, others still struggled, and he knew, before he departed, there was something he needed to say. One final message, and perhaps the most important one of all. Amid the sound of rain and the earthy scent of wet soil, a soft breeze stirred the wind chime hanging by the porch. He rose slowly and stepped back into the hermitage. No one knew. A special rainy season had just begun, a season of parting, of awakening, and of a final teaching that would echo long after he had left this world. The rain did not stop for 3 days and 3 nights. The forest flooded, streams overflowed, and the trees rustled in the damp, shadowed cold. Inside the humble, thatched hut, Masterman lay still on a wooden platform, eyes half closed, breath labored. The fever had come suddenly. Pain surged down his spine, sharp and deep to the bone. His body, already worn thin by the passing years, now felt like a small boat tossed about in a violent storm. No one knew he was ill. No one sensed how close the line between life and death had crept. Only the rain knew. Only the darkness and silence of the deep forest bore witness. And yet, through it all, not a single complaint passed his lips. No groans, no cries for help. Only stillness, like all those times he had meditated beneath the ancient trees, facing the agony of the body as if it were one final lesson life had to offer. Lying there, drifting in and out of fevered dreams, a sudden thought pierced through the fog like a ray of light breaking through the clouds. I cannot leave like this. I cannot vanish without leaving behind one last teaching for the spiritual children I've guided. They still need something, a reminder, a light. And so, like a gust of wind reviving a dying flame, Masterman summoned the last of his strength, drawing his will back into his body. He breathed slowly, deeply, guiding his mind to each breath, each fragile beat of his aging heart. This was a battle fought not with cries, but in silence. No weapons, only the quiet power of presence and compassion. Through the long night, the fever slowly receded. The pain softened. The faint light of dawn crept into the hut, casting its glow on his sweat-soaked face. No longer as pale as it was the day before. He opened his eyes, exhaled a long breath. He had come back, not to live longer, but to fulfill one final task, to pass on a lamp not placed into anyone's hand, but lit within their hearts, a lamp that lights itself, shines by itself, so that no one will have to wander alone through the night of their life. News of Master Min's illness somehow reached in. One of his most devoted former students, who had left the mountain years ago to live among the world. Back then, under the thatched roof of the hermitage, and had been the youngest of the disciples, quiet, full of questions, but with eyes that always burned with a hunger for truth. Now, caught in the busyness of work and daily life, and still kept one habit, meditating each morning. But that day, in the stillness of his breath, a strange unease swept over him, like a dark cloud blotting out the sun. He didn't know why, but something inside him cracked open, a hollow space, unnamed and urgent. Without hesitation, and left the city behind, returning to the narrow mountain path, where every step brought back memories buried deep in time. By the time he arrived, the forest rain had eased. The hermitage still stood as it always had, simple, silent, nestled beneath the old trees. But stepping inside, his heart clenched. The teacher he had once known, strong, steady, unshakable, was now sitting quietly, frail and thin, like the fading shadow of himself. Master Min looked up. His eyes still held the same light. He smiled gently. No tears were shed. No long greetings exchanged. Only silence. A silence so full of understanding, it felt like they had already spoken 1,000 words without a single sound, and knelt beside him, bowing deeply. I heard someone say, "You're leaving us." The master nodded softly. "This body will go, but the light does not fade. Out there, I still feel lost," and whispered, "Life isn't what I thought it would be. Sometimes I feel like I'm drifting with nothing to hold on to." Master Min looked straight into his eyes and said slowly, "Because you're still clinging, and the light you seek, it isn't out there, and it's within you," and fell silent. It was like hearing something truly meant for him. Not theory, not doctrine, but a truth so simple, it pierced him. You must be your own lamp. No teacher, no guide can walk the path for you forever. Life is a vast ocean, but if the flame is alive within you, no night will ever lead you astray. And in that moment, and understood, his teacher wasn't leaving behind a path to follow. He was leaving the spirit of the path itself. A brief reunion, but one that would forever mark the moment when the student received the light his teacher had carried his entire life. That morning, the forest was unusually still. The rain had stopped. The winds that howled through the trees the night before were now silent. Only birdsong lingered in the air, and soft shafts of early sunlight slipped through the leaves, bathing the little hermitage tucked quietly between mountain and woods. Master Min was fully awake. His body remained frail, but his eyes, they shone brighter than ever, as if, in this final moment, he had gathered every last drop of wisdom from his life to pass on what truly mattered, and sat by his side, along with a few other disciples who had returned. No one spoke. They knew this was not a time for questions, for pleadings, or for seeking answers. It was a moment for listening with the heart, to a voice that would soon leave this world, but not without first lighting a flame. Master Min spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear, deep and steady like a morning bell. "My children, don't wait for me to show you the way. I already have, through the life I've lived. The last thing I want to remind you is this. Learn to light your own flame. Don't lean on anyone. Don't wait for someone to save you. The greatest guide you will ever know is the awakening that lives inside you." He paused, breathed softly, then went on. "When this body fades, you may feel empty, but don't be afraid. A person's presence doesn't live in their form. It lives in what they leave behind in the hearts of others. I have no new teachings to leave you. No miracles, no secret scrolls. I only wish that in your darkest moments, you remember this. The one light that never goes out is the one inside you. Everyone sat in silence, not from sorrow, but from something deeper, a stillness stirred by truth. There was no grief in his final words, only peace, only love. Tears welled in Anne's eyes, but they weren't tears of despair. They were the tears of understanding. He knelt down, gently took his teacher's thin, weathered hand, still warm, and whispered, "I see it now, Master. The light I've been searching for was never out there. It was where I forgot to look." Masterman smiled. He said nothing more. His eyes gazed out to the sky beyond the door, calm, as if he had seen something that transcended both life and death. And then he closed his eyes, quietly, like the final curl of incense rising into the morning air. After Master Min passed, a light rain fell from the sky, soft as breath. No thunder, no chill, just enough to leave shimmering drops on the forest leaves, like tears too gentle to weep. But within it, there was no longer a sense of loss. The master was gone, and yet he remained, in the way and now saw life. In every breath, in every step he would take from this day forward, and didn't return to the city right away. He stayed on the mountain a while longer, tidied the little hermitage, cleared fallen branches from the old forest path, and every morning he sat in stillness, on the same porch where his teacher once sat, learning again how to be quiet, how to feel the silence he had long forgotten in the rush of the world. And then, when his heart was steady and returned, but not as someone searching for light, he came back as someone carrying it. He opened a small meditation space in the heart of the city. No grand signs, no loud promotions, just a quiet room where the weary could come and rest. They didn't need lofty teachings. They needed someone to listen, a place to breathe, and someone to help light that first spark within them. And never called himself a teacher. He didn't preach. He never imposed. He simply shared. He told stories of the misty mountain mornings, of the gentle gaze of his old master, and of one final reminder: be a light unto yourself. One day, a young woman came to him, her voice trembling after a devastating loss. "I don't know who I can lean on anymore," she whispered, and didn't offer comfort. He simply handed her a warm cup of tea, sat beside her in silence, and softly said, "You can lean on you. You just have to learn how to listen to yourself. The peace you're seeking, it's not far. It's waiting for you right inside." She broke down, but not from despair. They were tears of someone who had just seen light at the end of a long, dark tunnel. And so, day after day, one soul passed the light to another. From a small flame, a great fire was born. No one remembered Anne's full name, but in the heart of every person who met him, he left behind something indescribable, a quiet faith that they too could be a light, and never once thought he had replaced his teacher, because he knew true light can never belong to one person. It is only meant to be passed on, from heart to heart, like a torch in the night, losing nothing when it's shared, but making the whole world shine. Once more, life never stops testing us. There will be moments when we lose our way, times when the darkness feels too heavy, when getting back up seems impossible. But if we pause and truly listen, we'll discover something quietly burning within us. A tiny spark, small but unyielding. It never goes out. Master Min has passed on, but the light he carried was lit within him, and through him, that light kept spreading, quietly, gently, but fiercely. No stage, no applause, just a heart awake enough to touch another. This isn't just Master Min's story, not only In's journey. It's a reminder for all of us. When there's no one left to lean on, be the one you can lean on. Don't wait for a miracle to come from outside. Don't keep chasing someone to show you the way, because the brightest, strongest light was always meant to be the one you ignite within.